The projector flickered during our vows and cut to a sponsor reel. A drone hovered over the aisle, dropping petals and discount codes. The wedding planner smiled, hands folded, like this was all part of the package. The first time I met her, I was impressed the way you are by people who fold napkins into swans without looking. She had that gliding walk and the binder stuffed with fabric swatches that makes you forgive the hard sell. Edinburgh is full of planners who can get you a bagpiper with a good kilt and a castle that doesn't smell damp. She promised more: discreet leverage, hotel buyout diplomacy, a guest experience that feels cinematic but never sponsored. She said the word cinematic the way surgeons say sutures. We booked her because we both work too much me in product at a fintech off Lothian Road, my partner in environmental law. 12 months to a day that was meant to feel like air. 14th of June 2024, the buyer at Inverlair, a converted stone barn near Avermore, PH21AB. Contract signed 12th of July 2023, retainer 4,800, total fee 12,000 plus 15 of vendor costs. The red flags were swans at dusk. You see them, you don't call them ominous. She pushed hard for a preferred florist with a 3,900 minimum. She suggested a videographer with brand experience who didn't list any weddings on his site but had reels of slow-motion cappuccinos with brand tags. She insisted on her in-house stationery because timelines, and when I flinched at 1,100 for invitations we'd essentially designed, she patted the price like it was a dog and whispered, "Guests notice paper." When a planner tells you what guests notice, listen to the verbs. They're telling you who the story is for. We paid deposits in good faith. The money flowed like a river carved by contracts. 2,000 to the buyer to hold the date. Haben 200 to a harpist named Cyanide from Air. 2,750 to the florist. 1,500 to a caterer out of Inverness called Fur Flame with a pile of local purveyors and a spreadsheet that made me want to marry a parsnip. The planner title, not name, set up a client portal on Honeybook with all our files, and when I read Admin Creator Weddings Lentee in the corner, I didn't blink. Companies need names. People monetize logistics. Life moves. The first time she said the word brand to my face, we were sitting in South Queensferry watching the bridges turn red in the dusk. She tapped her pen against her binder and said, "Your story lends itself to partnerships. You're bi-national, you met in an airport lounge, he cycles, you bake sourdough. You are basically a lifestyle feed with legal degrees. I can offset 5-7K of your costs with soft sponsors. No banners, promise?" She smiled like a seal. "We'll make it invisible." We said no. We wanted quiet, not an episode. She nodded like we'd passed a test and then kept moving. That was the second red flag, the nod without the stop. The budget moved like drywall. You don't see it until it cracks. Her fee schedule included a 3 coordination levy on any vendor not from her list. "It covers the pain of chasing unknowns," she said, half joking, pressing hard on the half. She insisted on channeling all payments for accountability, and when we asked if we could pay vendors directly, she said, "Of course," with the sort of cheer that indicates courts. Then she sent a vendor update with her sort code and account number as the destination on every line. Creator Weddings Lilted, sort 80, 2260, ACC 11222334. We aggregate and pay weekly. I asked for an escrow letter. "We're not a law firm," she said, still smiling. I asked for a client money statement. "We're not estate agents," she said, no longer smiling. We wrote into the contract an addendum. Vendor funds shall be held in a separate client account, designated Creator Weddings Ltd client monies, at RBS. Funds shall not be commingled. Withdrawal only for vendor invoices authorized by the clients in writing. She initialed, quick and annoyed. When the updated PDF came back, the clause sat there like a guarded gate. I wanted to trust the ink on the page more than I trusted her hands. The months blurred. Supplier calls, swatch approvals, a tasting that made me cry over a roasted carrot and a sliver of venison that tasted like a really good apology for winter. We mailed invitations, then fielded family logistics like air traffic control Boston to Edinburgh, Hamburg to Inverness, plus a cousin whose entire personality is the word Delta. Our planner glided through it all, placing chairs in diagrams and building a mood board full of catching light. She suggested a drone, just for the opening wide, and when I said no, she laughed and said, "Drones exist." The cork in that sentence only popped for me later. 2 weeks before the wedding, a vendor misfire clanged. Fur Flame sent a cheery email confirming final headcount and menu with a footer I'd never seen. "Please note, we are no longer accepting payments via Creator Weddings portal." Final balance due to Fur Flame, HSBC, sort 40-0621, ACC 21 Attached was a letter dated 29th of May 2024. We have not received timely remittances from Creator Weddings and therefore require direct settlement. We value our relationship but must ensure supplier payments are secure. The planner forwarded it with a 3-paragraph explanation about admin shuffle, total bean paste, sorted now, and attached a screenshot of a payment in progress screen. Fur Flame's owner, a woman in her 40s with forearms that could lift a lamb, called me herself. Sorry to bring this to you, she said, but your planner sat on 7,200 of our deposits for 31 days. We got it in 2 chunks after threatening to walk. We'll accept payment direct for the balance, 9,480. She sent an invoice. The planner texted a string of heart emojis. I opened the addendum we'd written, my jaw unclenched. That night I opened Company's House and read Creator Weddings Lebeltied. Incorporated 2019, director since 2019 her, a charge in 2022 against all book debts in favor of a lender that specializes in invoice financing. I saw a second dormant entity, Creator Weddings Events Limited, incorporated March 2024. A third company registered in her maiden name in April, CW Partnerships Limited. I made a little chart because that's what I do when fear knocks, draw lines on paper and see if they make a shape. I asked her to confirm the client account details. She sent a PDF on RBS letterhead with the words Creator Weddings Ltd client account. I called RBS the next morning and asked, as a client with money at stake, whether an account existed in that name. They couldn't confirm details, but they confirmed format. Letters titled that way are only issued to regulated firms. Do wedding planners count? I asked. The banker cleared his throat. No. We moved vendor balances off her portal. We paid the buyer, the harpist, the florist directly, referencing invoice numbers, saving PDFs to a folder called 14 June paid. We left her final fee due on delivery. She floated through site visits like geopolitics with sunlight. The breaking point was not a slow burn. It was an explosion with a schedule. The buyer's stone walls were cool at noon, the air smelling like rain over pine. We had 94 chairs, a string quartet warming up, and friends in linen learning to be quiet. I held my partner's hand behind the little door and breathed like the NHS pamphlet on panic taught me. The planner had been a machine. She'd put out a linen fire. She'd produced a sewing kit like a magician for a flower girl's lace cuff. She'd convinced my aunt to relinquish control of the seating plan with a smile that would talk the moon into a different orbit. When the music rose and the door opened, I felt so grateful I could have thanked her on a plaque. We walked down the aisle. The buyer's giant screen at the back, usually used for slideshows, was thankfully off, a black slate. Then, right after we reached each other and took the little breath before speaking, the projector clicked alive. The black slate shifted to a montage. Drone footage of the buyer, a slow pan over our invitation suite, a shot of the flower arch with a logo tucked into the corner. Creator Weddings official. Then a sponsor card. In partnership with LuxGlide Drones, use code VOWS10. Click. Stationery by Paper Halo code Creator Bride. Click. Discount on your first order with Meadow Moss Floristry Scan QR. The QR floated like a jellyfish. The drone we'd said no to rose behind the last row and drifted over our heads. Where petals fell, slips of paper fell 2 tiny cards, reading, Film by Nova Studio 25 off for new clients. For 3 seconds I didn't move. Then my partner said, soft and noticing, no. The planner standing at the back, headset tucked like a secret, put her hands together in a little whoops, whole clap. People murmured. My mother stood up like a general. The buyer's coordinator ran to the AV booth and smacked a button. The screen went black, then the no signal blue box. The drone dipped and scurried toward the exit aisle, descending like a guilty gull. The wedding planner stepped forward with the smile of a person who thinks the audience is still on their side. A little surprise partnership to offset costs, she said, somehow projecting without a mic. No banners, promise. I heard myself say, calm as a spreadsheet, turn it off. I didn't raise my voice. That's the thing about real anger, it lowers. I looked to the buyer's coordinator, a woman named Isla with a pencil behind her ear. Cut power to the projector, I said. She did in a click that felt like a curtain dropping. The drone operator, black t-shirt, apologetic hair, followed his machine out like a waiter who dropped a plate. The planner took a step toward us, hands placating. Breathe, she said, as if to a toddler. Stop, I said. Please leave. We will continue without you. There's a moment in rooms like that when everyone recalibrates what's happening. The quartet started playing without being asked. God bless practiced people. Isla nodded at 2 staffers who approached the planner with the stance you use with a raccoon you hope is just tired. She bristled. You'll regret this, she said to me, sotto voce, tone changing from honey to bone. You've no idea what you agreed to in Appendix C. We didn't sign Appendix C, I said, because we hadn't. She had sent a content partnership appendix in April that we'd ignored and explicitly rejected by email. "We do not consent to brand integrations," I'd written. "We do not consent to filming beyond contracted videography. We do not consent to use of our likenesses for your marketing without prior written approval." She had replied with a thumbs-up emoji and the words, "Totally." I printed that email and placed it in a folder. I carry folders like charms. We turned back to each other. The vows happened, weirdly steadier for the pebbles in the shoe. We laughed once when a petal stuck to his hair. People later told us the hiccup made the ceremony more human. Humans always say that when a thing thumps and then recovers. I held his hands warm, calm, and said words that had survived spreadsheets and drones. Those words, it turns out, can survive a lot. Reception, you know how this goes. People talk, the caterer moves like ballet, someone's heel gets caught in a grate, and someone who doesn't dance dances. Meanwhile, I went to war. Protagonist reaction, calm, methodical, taking back control. At 17:10, right after the speeches and right before the starters, I stepped into the buyer's office with Isla. We opened a laptop and pulled out a stack of paper. I drafted a contemporaneous note. On 1/14/06/2024, at 15:03, during the ceremony, Creator Weddings LLC initiated an unauthorized sponsor reel projection and aerial drone display with promotional codes and QR links. This violated contract 1/3, Clause 7, no third-party marketing, and addendum 18082023, no use of likeness. Isla countersigned. I emailed it to myself and to my partner with the subject, Incident Creator Weddings 14th June. I forwarded the email chain with her totally to a new thread titled Breach. I saved screenshots of Creator Weddings official's Instagram story where my dress and my partner's shoulders appeared in a boomerang with Creator Bride ad. I tapped report on the story for unauthorized content. I took photos of the tiny discount slips we gathered from the aisle. I asked the drone operator's assistant his name. "I'm Theo," he said sheepish. "I'm hired freelance through Nova Studio." I asked for the purchase order number. He had a laminated day call sheet, which he let me photograph. Nova Studio Drone Unit Invoice, 2 CW Partnerships Ltd, 4A Dublin Street Lane South, Edinburgh, EH1 3PX. I called our card issuer, Amex Business Platinum, because real-time controls are a gift. We had paid her $3,200 in the last month for final coordination. I flagged the transaction for potential chargeback under service not as described and unauthorized commercial use. The card rep was a woman from somewhere that pronounces R like a promise. She walked me through the online dispute portal, then told me to upload the contract, addendum, incident memo, and evidence of advertising. I dragged and dropped like a champion. I opened my banking app and froze the scheduled faster payment of $2,800 due the following Monday to her RBS account. Then I logged into the Honeybook portal, exported every invoice PDF, and downloaded all messages between us. I right-clicked on her client portal's Terms of Service and saved the HTML because uniform resource locators have a way of changing when you need them not to. I wrote to the Advertising Standards Authority. Unauthorized ads during private event, no disclosure to audience, implied endorsement, breach of cap code. I wrote to the Competition and Markets Authority. Unfair commercial practice, aggressive marketing, misrepresentation of fee structure, possible commingling of client funds. I wrote to the Information Commissioner's office because the drone captured faces without consent, and she planned to use them to sell discounts. I wrote short, referenced dates, attached PDFs. Writing begets breath. My partner made 2 lists, people to reassure and people to ask for witness statements. He went to my mother, to his father, to the aunt with the seating plan, and told them simply, "We handled it." He asked 3 guests to write what they saw, 2 solicitors, and 1 GP with a handwriting so neat it could chair a committee. At 18:20, CW Partnerships Ltd posted a carousel of our couple today with ad tags and a caption that made me itch. I commented, brief, "Remove this post, no consent." I screenshotted, then sent a text to the planner. "This is a formal request to remove all content featuring us or our guests. Event date 14062024. You have no license. Do not use our names or images. Cease and desist." I CC'd her generic inbox and the Honeybook chat. She sent back a white heart emoji. I took another screenshot. We finished dinner. People hugged us, some in apology, some in shared incredulity. The band started. The sky did that Highland thing where it glows around the edges until almost midnight. We danced until my dress grew heavy with sweat and joy. And when it was over, we did the thing you do when you've handled a crisis in the middle of your own party. We ate leftover cake in the camper van we'd rented and fell asleep with frosting in our teeth. Aftermath, receipts, bank accounts, contracts, screenshots, legal consultations. Meet Monday morning. Monday, 17th of June, 09:30, our flat on Leamington Terrace. We zoomed with a solicitor named Aaron Patel from a firm on Queen Street that handles reputation privacy and looks like a place where the walls are made of quiet. He hummed as he read. He underscored clauses with a stylus, like a conductor marking beats. You have a clean breach on Clause 7 and the addendum, he said. You have a tortious wrong in misuse of private information. You have a data protection angle. You also have a plain consumer claim for services not as described. We can send the letter before action today, seeking undertakings. Remove content, destroy footage, return all client money and pay damages. If she refuses, we can file an interdict for interim orders. We sent the letter at 12:11. It was polite in the way that makes you glad language exists. We act for names. You have misused our client's private information and have breached contract. Unless you comply by 4 p.m. on 19/06/2024, we will seek injunctive relief and damages and report to regulators. Attached, the contract, the addendum, her totally, the incident memo, 9 screenshots, the Nova Studio call sheet, and a stack of witness statements. CC, ASA, ICO, CMA. She escalated by attempting to control the narrative. She posted a note on partnerships on her company Instagram. Sometimes, to offset client costs, we integrate our valued brand partners in tasteful ways, always disclosed, always mutually agreed. The comments were kind until they weren't. Half our guests found the post on their lunch breaks and politely, surgically corrected the record. Not disclosed, not agreed, we were there. She DM'd 3 of them telling them they had signed attendance releases. She attached a PDF to one. It was a generic model release with blank fields. Our families do not do blank fields. She emailed us a copy of Appendix C with our typed names dropped into blank lines like cherries into an old drink. The digital signature block was a JPG of my partner's signature from our registry office paperwork. Mirrored. I opened the PDF in preview, saved it as a JPEG to a new file, and ran a reverse image search. The signature sat on 3 other forms in the same folder she'd shared before. Resampled, stretched, badly aligned. I added forgery concerns to our solicitor's running list. We discovered commingling of funds through a casual cruelty. She emailed invoices with her bank details for final florist balance and band balance when we had already paid those vendors direct. I forwarded to the florist and band. Both replied, "We have nothing outstanding." I asked for a statement of her client account. She sent a spreadsheet called Reconciliation, with sums that rounded in ways honest numbers don't. Aaron requested bank statements. She sent none. Escalation turned into mild stalking by Thursday. She parked a white Audi Q3 across from our flat for 2 hours with her sun visor down. She walked past our stoop twice with sunglasses on at 8 p.m., even though Edinburgh at 8 p.m. in June is basically noon wearing a hat. Our downstairs neighbor, who works in theatre and trusts no one who uses the word vibe, texted us, "Your planner person is loitering." I sent a notice to cease contact via our solicitor, referencing harassment laws, and logged the times. Aaron called Police Scotland's 101 line to record concerns. The officer suggested a traceable warning. He delivered it. She DM'd me an hour later. "I loved your dress nonetheless." Block, screenshot, log. She emailed vendors urging them not to cooperate with a defamer. She threatened Fur Flame with future exposure if they didn't support the brand. Fur Flame's owner printed the email, scrawled LOL on it in pencil, and included it in her statement. She told me she didn't come from people who scare. Positive Turn, a new ally who validated our values. Her name is Leonie Schwartz, a Hamburg-based photographer who had moved to Glasgow in 2022 for a love and stayed for the light. We'd chosen her because her portfolio made Joy look unsponsored. She had watched the sponsor reel and put her camera down. "I don't shoot ads," she said to me on the night, quiet as a promise. She sent us her entire RAW folder gratis on Monday with a note. "Make your own selection. This was not what you asked for. I would like to be the person on the job who remembers that." She wrote a witness statement that could have taught workshops. She also sent a list of wedding forums where planners trade collabs and screen captures of our planner soliciting partner placements using anonymized couple descriptors that matched us too well to be anyone else. I sent those to the CMA. On Friday at 10:07, we received an email from Instagram. "Your report has been processed, content removed." Her carousel vanished. Nova Studio DM'd a lengthy apology, claiming they had been told we consented. They attached a purchase order from CW Partnerships Ltd. that included a clause. Client consents to brand partner integrations. They agreed to provide an affidavit and to delete footage. We wrote back thanking them and reminding them we'd pursue them if they didn't. Aaron filed for an interim interdict in the Court of Session. The judge granted it ex parte with narrow terms: remove content, stop processing images, deliver up all raw footage, and refrain from sharing images pending hearing. We had a court order. Sometimes that's all that stops people who believe aesthetics are law. We filed a Section 75 claim with Amex for $3,200. Services not as described. We added evidence like squirrels add acorns. Amex credited our account provisionally and sent the dispute to Creator Weddings acquirer, which mattered because acquirers hate chargebacks with documentation. We filed a complaint with the ICO. Unlawful processing of personal data, images, for direct marketing purposes without consent, contrary to UK GDPR Article 6. We filed with ASA, non-disclosed advertising at a private event, no clear ad markers, implied endorsement, breach of cap code, Section 2. We filed with CMA, potential unfair contract terms, misrepresentation in consumer services, and possible cartel-like pressure on vendors, preferred list with Levy. She hired a solicitor with a website that said boutique too many times and sent an email that tried to reverse the gravity. Our client denies your allegations. Brand integrations are standard. Clients consented. Any removal is purely to avoid distress. Your campaign has damaged our client's brand. Aaron sent them a calendar invite titled Hearing Interim Interdict and attached our file. They blinked. One more escalation before the quiet. She showed up at my partner's office on Queen Street with a bouquet and a note. Let's talk like humans. The receptionist didn't let her past. She left the bouquet. It contained flowers from our palette. The card had Appendix C stapled to it. We filed a report. We added this to our claim for harassment. People who can't apologize rearrange props. The calm came on a Wednesday in July. The court extended the interdict by consent. Her solicitor signed undertakings to remove and not to republish, to delete footage, to deliver up memory cards, to refrain from processing. They proposed a settlement. We keep the money. Amex had already credited us. She refunds remaining retainer $4,800. We agree not to pursue further damages if she keeps to the undertakings. Aaron added a clause. Statement to clients apologizing for distress caused and acknowledging breach of contract. And we both added, donate $2,000 to a domestic abuse charity, because I needed something good to land out of this. She agreed. The transfer hit our account on 22nd July. We bought a better coffee machine than 2 lawyers should be allowed and sent Leonie a bonus. Leonie sent back a photo of a Macintosh building with rain-like confetti. CMA emailed in August. They were interested in patterns and asked for any evidence of her preferred vendor levy. We shared the spreadsheet from Honeybook that showed a 3 surcharge on non-preferred vendors labeled coordination levy. 2 other couples, thanks to Leonie forwarding our story to a private group, wrote in separately. Patterns matter. ASA wrote in September, we have upheld a complaint regarding non-disclosure. Ad content at private events must be clearly labeled. Influencer-style disclosure is insufficient. They listed Creator Weddings Official in their rulings. The ICO sent a letter in October about an informal resolution and guidance issued to the controller. Bureaucracy is not romantic, but it waters the plant. The romance survived. The marriage, the reason we were there, outlived the drama with that quiet daily resilience that makes ceremony look like a nice hat on something warm and stubborn. We wrote thank you notes with a photo Leonie took in the buyer doorway, the light making our shoulders look like they know what they're doing. We sent Fur Flame a 5-star review that mentioned their venison like a public crush. We mailed Isla a coffee gift card with a note that said, you cut the power, you saved the tone. She replied, we added no drones to the checklist. The twist loops back to the hook like a ribbon. On our first anniversary, we went back to the buyer with thermoses and 2 slices of our top tier we'd frozen because we are traditional in weird places. There was a wedding underway, new couple, new swans, someone's uncle wearing a tie like regret. We stopped by the back to leave a card for Isla. In the office, on the wall, was a laminated sheet. Unapproved vendor ad policy effective 01082024. It listed no projections during ceremonies, AV by venue staff only, no drones without written venue and client consent, no brand integrations, no QR codes, vendor payments direct, client accounts only with regulated escrow. At the bottom, in small print, it said, if your planner says it's invisible, assume it isn't. We stood at the edge of the lawn as the new couple walked down their aisle, climbers blooming in ridiculous abundance. The projector at the back stayed black. A bird flew through the stone arch on its own schedule. A gust came through and blew a few petals loose. No discount codes fell. We heard the string quartet begin, and the only screen that lit up was the sky.